So, okay, welcome to Software Engineering Research Group Colloquium 3. Okay, this is our third colloquium, but the first colloquium for this 2021. So, we start our colloquium with Umul Kita Al-Fatihah. Okay, I think maybe some of you do not recognize me. Yeah, I just joined UTM in June 2020. Okay, and I joined Software Engineering Research Group. Okay, so I'm delighted to inform all of you that today we are honored to have three UTM alumni, okay, as our guest speaker, which is Dr. Abdelzahir from King Khalid University. Okay, and we have Dr. Mohamed Arif Shah from Institute of Applied Sciences and Technology, Pakistan. And also have Dr. Mohamed Dhiauddin from MIMOS Technology Solution, Malaysia. And the main speaker for this first session is our beloved Associate Chair, okay, Academy and Students Development, which is Associate Professor Dr. Dayang Norhayati bin Abang Jawawi. So I believe that the topic is very interesting, which is with our current situations, all right? Phase versus distant research supervision. So which is the best for you, okay? Well, I will also post the attendance link so that you can click the attendance. I will post it in the chat room, okay? Without further ado, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Dayang Norhayati to begin the first sessions. Over to you, Dr. Dayang.
Assalamualaikum and very afternoon to everybody. Now it's 2:30 in Malaysia, so we have different time zone now. Thank you very much, Dr. Johanna, to chair our session this afternoon. And then before I start, I would like to share my slide. Let us begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today I'm Dayang will some sort like informal discussion on what's the difference between face-to-face versus distant research supervision, because many people talking about face-to-face and online learning, but in our session today we discuss about face-to-face versus distant research supervision. And then which is the best for you? It's very subjective. It's very subjective. We will discuss about this. The reason why I bring this topic is it seems like this is the topic that everybody thinking about and try to say whether this is the best technique to do research. And then with me, thank you very much all our Software Engineering Research Group alumni, which is we have Dhiauddin from MIMOS, and then Arif from Pakistan, and Zahir from Saudi. Three of them did their PhD with us in School of Computing under Software Engineering Research Group team. And then the year they graduated, I put it there where Dhiauddin graduated in 2020, Arif 2019, and the most seniors here is Zahir. So let I start with my sharing, then I will pass the baton to them so that they will start sharing their point of view on this topic. Okay, so my part is very simple. I will start with supervision. From my point of view, how I view supervision, what is the best definition of supervision that I view from my point of view, which I agree from the definition given. And then we look at the difference between these two type of supervision. And then I pass the baton to Zahir, and then Dhiauddin and Arif. Okay, when we talk about supervision, each institution have their own guideline on supervision. Okay, like for example here, Edinburgh come up with their own guideline, what are the process of supervision with their postgraduate research. The same thing with Malaysian University, like here, USM. And UTM also have our own guideline of supervision, where this is one example where we have a guideline for a remote supervision for master and PhD student. Okay, we have a normal guideline for normal supervision, but we also have a remote supervision guideline. Beside university, other institutions also come up with their own guideline. Like for example, here, UK Research Council come up with their own guideline. If you have a look at their guideline, there are similarity in that guideline, and the most important difference is the procedure, like registration, how to register. The rules and regulation might be slightly different from one university to another university. Okay, when we talk about research, postgraduate research supervision, I'm referring to master and PhD supervision here, because the nature we supervise undergraduate are slightly different as compared to postgraduate. Okay, so if we talk about supervision, everybody think about supervisor. Actually, supervision consists of two actors, which are the supervisor and the student. If you only have supervisor, it's not a supervision process. You need to have both supervisor and student to come up with the term supervision. Okay, so if you think of supervision, this is the conventional way, or this is the way that we used to do, where we have supervisor or a team of supervisor discuss with student in terms of their progress and what they are doing or their plan. This is a new era, meaning that we've been doing this quite a long time, but not majority of us. Okay, so this is one example of online supervision, where the student present their progress, and then we have panels or group of supervisor who give feedback to the student through online. Okay, if people ask me which is the definition of supervision suit me, I would say anything to do with partnership is the best. Because if you're talking about supervision, it's not only the student. The supervisor and the student is a partner in this journey. Both of them need to engage. Not only the student engage with the task, the student need to also engage with the task in order to make the journey smooth journey. Easy and smooth. It's not that easy actually, everybody know, because everybody are doing your research now. It's not as smooth as you think of, but at least it will make the process smoother as compared to if only one party doing their task and the other party is not doing it very well. And then this is one term that I'm partnership. The second one, journey, because when we're talking about research, it's not one semester task. It's not, especially PhD, it's not 1 year task. It's about like 3 years, or some people do it up to 8 years or 10 years. You know, that is a very long commitment. It's a very long journey. And then when we're talking about supervision, if you ask me, it's not only the student learning a lot. Me as a supervisor also learn from the process. Okay, more student that I supervise, I learn more, and then I get more experience from the process. So that's the reason why I choose this definition. Okay, how to map this definition, grant, map the responsibility or the frameworks of supervision into this CATWA. CATWA is one of the frameworks being used in business. It's talking about customer, actor, and transformation. The most important thing is transformation. If you do your master project or master research, if you're doing your PhD research, we expect you from the beginning of the project till the end, there will be a knowledge transfer. There will be a knowledge skill or things that transform you to become a new person. not only transform the student to become a new person, the way they think, the way they solve problem, the way they look at a problem, but also the way the supervisor look at the process as well. It's both learn together. Both the student and both student and lecturer are learn together in this process. That is transformation. And then worldview, honor, and environment. Okay, I will try to match it according to grant research. As I mentioned, partnership, journey, learn together. Okay, C is customer. Definitely we think that student is our customer, but grant say both use supervisor and students are customer, because there are the both two parties who benefit from this supervision process. Okay. And then actor, who are responsible, who act or do something in the process, definitely both supervisor and student are actors. Okay. Transformation process, as I mentioned, it's research supervision is transformation process. From the research work, we transform or enhance skill. We are talking about knowledge for both skill and knowledge for both lecturer and student, and then using appropriate methodology. We're using appropriate research. What's made our research in postgraduate study different from research in industry? Because we're teaching them to use a proper methodology, a proper way of doing it, or a systematic way of doing it. In industry, they're doing that, but they are not teaching them how to do it. They assume the researcher know how to do it, but we teach the process in university. Okay, when we're talking about worldview, people viewing supervision is work together and learn together in research activity and partnership between the student and the lecturer. Okay. Ownership, who own this PhD? I'm talking about the academic program, because who will award with the academic program? It is a university. Okay, university own the program, and then they will award the process to the student. The supervisor cannot award PhD. The evaluator or examiner or in Viva cannot award PhD. They're only involved in the process that owned by university. So who is the owner? It is a university. In our case, it's University Technology Malaysia. And university also can take back the scroll if they disagree with the process, even though we already awarded the scroll to PhD student. Some of the cases, like for example, plagiarism, after a student, we have cases in UTM where we awarded master or PhD to student, and then they completed their PhD and master and received the scroll. And there will be external party complaint to university saying that this is a plagiarized work. Then the owner of the program can take back or can cancel the award because of they are the owner of the program. Okay, so we as a supervisor and student need to work together so that we are following a proper process. We are following a systematic process and a proper process in order to get the PhD, in order to gain the degree. Okay, when we talk about environment and constraint, we cannot do PhD in 20 years. There must be a constraint, okay, in terms of time and resources. Okay, and then we also need to look at the best tools to do it. So both supervisor and the student need to evaluate this situation, okay, in terms of the constraint and the resources to do the PhD. If I do my PhD with the same topic here in UTM, might be I will get different result as compared to if I do it in different university, because different university have different rules. and different universities have different resources and different tools. So it will lead to different output. Okay. Before I proceed, I just want to stress about one thing. In UTM, we have a term of UTM remote supervision. Okay. UTM remote supervision is a mode of supervision which is for only research student, which is MPhil and PhD student, who do not physically in UTM. And then there are rules and regulations that the student need to meet in order to enroll to this UTM remote supervision. There are two that are stated here, but you can also refer to guideline that I put here. You can also Google the guideline. You can find it from SPS. Working in a research institute or higher education institute, okay, or place the research or a place with research facility approved by supervisor and faculty. Meaning that if you want to register to remote supervision with UTM, you need to have this first requirement, and the second one, having research experience and able to work independently. So because remote supervision is a mode with different tuition fee, okay, and then different tuition fee and a bit on special treatment, because we assume that you're not going to be in UTM, physically in UTM. You will be somewhere distant from UTM. Okay, so be careful about remote supervision. And what we're talking today is distant learning. It's not subset of remote supervision. Remote supervision is bigger. Okay, it's more holistic way of supervision. Like if you heard about open distant learning, this is one mode of teaching and learning where the student will be 100% distant, not going to visit UTM. They will enroll as open distant learning student for undergraduate or master or PhD, and then we assume the student and the supervisor or the lecturer not going to meet physically. But what I'm talking today is more like a mixture of face-to-face and distant supervision. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the difference between face-to-face and distance supervision. If we look into these two things, is it to either you can do face-to-face, or you can choose online, or you can opt for both. Okay, if you ask me, if you only choose online, from the beginning till the end, you are remote student. Okay, if you opt for face-to-face and there are certain semester or a certain duration you will be with your supervisor, you will be both in, we call it blended. Okay, blended. So there are situations where you will be face-to-face. There are situations that you will be online, and there are situations, so if you have this both, you will call yourself as blended supervision. Okay, so what I'm going to share today, I think what we are going to share today is mostly of blended, because personally, I don't have any experience to supervise remote supervision totally, a remote supervision student, okay, with special fee. Okay, when we're talking about remote supervision with hybrid, okay, there are differences between the way we have formal learning in PhD or master face-to-face or online. Because if we have it face-to-face, all the classes, we do it face-to-face, and then all the lecturer will be in front of you and face-to-face. And if digital, everything will be online, okay? In supervision, it's not only formal, formal class to class, we have informal, because informal is very important. Even though informal is not compulsory, but it is very important towards your development. For example, if your supervisor arrange colloquium, and then or he or she want to discuss with you on your progress. Okay, that is some sort of formal discussion. But the more informal is like colloquium that we do today. It's not compulsory. You can either want to come or not. But we can do it either online or we can do it face to face. But today we do it face to face. So we are on the other half of the chart. We are doing social and informal learning in digitally. Okay. The same thing with learning tools. GSMS is one tools that help us to do informal learning, where research students submit their progress online. Okay, that is tools. There are many more tools which help supervisor and student to coordinate their supervision online. The same thing with assessment. Okay, before COVID-19, before 2020, 100% of the assessment for Viva were conducted physical, including first assessment and Viva. But starting from 1st of March, after we declare our government declare our first CMO, okay, RMOs, so we already started our supervision evaluation or assessment for our first assessment and Viva online. And then since then, we've been doing it blended. Okay, sometimes we do it 100% online. Like currently, Malaysian government declare the second PKP. So we have to organize it 100% online, where the examiner, the student, the supervisor, the chairperson are distributed, okay, online. And then before last few months, we did it blended. Like for example, some of the students or some of the examiner are here in Skudai or in UTM Skudai. But sometimes the student in Pakistan or the evaluator, the external examiner in UKM. So there are a mixture of situations. So we call it blended assessment. Okay. Okay. I supervised postgraduate students started in 2007 till 2020. Alhamdulillah, these are the names which managed to complete their PhD and their master bio-research and mixed mode with me and my friends. Because it's not only me, my work here, there are a team of us who's working as a supervisor in team, where we have co-supervisor. Either I become the co-supervisor, somebody else become the main supervisor, and sometimes I become the main supervisor and the other colleague become co-supervisor. Alhamdulillah, these are 30 of them who completed in 2020. So expecting to get more in 2021, inshallah. So from this statistic, I try to plot how many of them did it blended, how many of them did it face-to-face. So most major, the highest number of blended learning or supervision student that I organized were with my PhD student. Okay, the reason is PhD students have more commitment in terms of their work. Like some of them working in different place and they cannot get the study leave, and they did it blended, meaning that they come like 3 months in a semester, or they will come like 2 months in a year with us in UTM, and the rest of the period they will be not in UTM. Okay, this is I went through the experience 7 of my PhD student, and then 13 of them did their PhD face to face. And feel not many students did it distant, only one. But my lovely one student is because he need to work somewhere in Kuala Lumpur. After she spent like a few 2-3 semesters with us, then she worked in Kuala Lumpur. But I did appointed a co-supervisor in Kuala Lumpur University who will help her in Kuala Lumpur. And then most of my MPhil students did the MPhil face-to-face, okay? Mixed mode student, Alhamdulillah, I managed to get experience to supervise 3 mixed mode students from FINISA, which is they're working as a staff in a company in Perak, where UTM, our school, organized a special program, okay, where the lecturer will go to Perak and then lecture, and then the supervision we did it remotely with these 3 industry students. Okay. Sorry, it's not that clear, but I will, what are the challenges? There are many, I'm highlighting the challenges of distance, okay? Later, I will conclude. Is the different, how much different are the challenges with supervision in distance and face-to-face, okay? If we're talking about distance, the main important thing is connection, okay, the connection. And the rest are the same, just the mechanism are different. Like for example, communication. We also can have problem, challenge communication even though you're doing it face-to-face. Building relation between student and supervisor, also we will have the problem if we do it face-to-face as well. The same thing with understanding expectation, and then undertaking the research project, producing writing, giving feedback, like how the supervisor will give feedback. Sometimes it's easy. I have one scenario where I have a very committed student doing his PhD, did his PhD with me, where even though he was in Saudi, every time I email him, he always will respond to me within 24 hours. Always. Unless there is one occasion that he did not respond. Why? Because his son was admitted to hospital. This is only one occasion he did not respond to me within 24 hours. And then, Alhamdulillah, he completed his PhD, even though remotely or from Saudi, within 3 years. Okay. But I have scenario where I have my student face-to-face who did not respond to me within 24 hours, even a week, even a month. Okay, so this is very subjective. Okay, so that is about feedback. Okay, this is what Zahir and Munir highlighted in their research paper about communication barrier. Time constraint, because there are many reasons. Time constraint because if you are in different time zone, it will lead to time constraint. Like for now, I have a few of my students went back to their country, especially in the Middle East. I can only reasonably communicate with them after 2 o'clock because if I communicate in the morning, they're still like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so official restriction also, irregular contact. These are the barrier, communication barrier that they highlighted. Technical issue and then legal issue. Like for example here, there are certain countries not allowed certain application being used due to certain reason. Okay, like there are countries that allow people to communicate using WhatsApp. So these are legal issue lead to certain country. And then this researcher also highlighted student supervisor interaction. But if you ask me, we also have that problem if we do it face-to-face. And then diversity, diversity in terms of geographical and then perception and view. This is the reason if you have not been to Malaysia, especially foreign student, you don't really know our culture. You don't really know Dr. Dayang actually. But after you know Dr. Dayang, they will say, oh, that is Dr. Dayang. This is how she gave comment. So this is about understanding culture. So it's quite difficult to understand the culture and to understand style of supervision if you do it online as compared to if you do it face-to-face. But, and again, you can ask around, you can ask your alumni, you can ask your friends, okay? This can be solved. And then also perception, okay? There are many perception before you start with certain supervision, a group of lecturer or group of, you have certain perception of supervision, okay? So this is one problem. Also academic collaboration. I'm not going to, okay. But anyhow, if you ask me what are the main attribute, a key success factor of supervision is attitude and mindset. These two attributes is very important, even though either you do both method, either you do it face-to-face or distance supervision. You need to have a positive and good attitude and good mindset. But if you ask me, distance learning require much more positive thinking, and you really need to align and realign your mindset properly, okay? There is a difference between two types of student. If I have one student who purposely register as a remote student, because when they want to start their research, they say, I want to do it remotely. So they have a better mindset saying that they will do it remotely. What happened in early to 2020 was my face-to-face student been forced to do it remotely because they don't have a mindset to have a remote supervision. Because their mindset said, I will be with Dr. Dayang, and then I will be with my supervisor, and then I can, he or she can consult me accordingly. But when situation happen, then you need to realign your mindset. This is much more difficult as compared to a student who at the beginning already set their mindset to say, I'm going to do it remotely, meaning that they are mentally prepared to run their research in distance supervision. Okay, so as I mentioned, regardless whether you are face-to-face student or you are distant supervision, your mindset alignment and attitude is very important. Okay, so if you ask me tips, different people require different tips because supervision is very abstract. Different people require a different type of tips. So there are many tips. So I'm not going to list it all, but the most important thing that I listed here is fight for attention. Because it's not that we, supervisor, forget you are our student if we did not give attention to you. It's just that we have what to say, the best is you need to attract the supervisor attention, saying that, hello doctor, I'm here, what can you say about, try to attract your supervisor attention, okay? And then update your supervisor no matter what, whether you have your progress or not. Try to have a culture that you will say hello every week to your supervisor. Regardless you get a result or not, just say, Dr. Dayang, what you have today for your dinner? So Dr. Dayang will ask you something related to your research. Okay, so for me, it's okay if you don't have result, if you just want to say hello to me. Okay, but if we have a proper discussion, serious discussion is the best for you to have your results so that we can have an in-depth discussion for your progress. Okay. Okay, supervision is not happen between student and supervisor only. The most another important thing is environment. Okay, the environment who support the ecosystem, like your friends, your colleague who also doing their PhD or their master, they're also a support system to for your PhD journey. Okay, and not only your supervisor or lecturer who supervise you, you can also talk to different lecturer just to get their opinion. Okay, that's why for my student, I'm very emphasized with seminar and conferences, because seminar and conferences can help students to get bigger knowledge and to get bigger perception on their topic. Okay. There are many more. I'm not going to elaborate more. Okay. So so I think that's all from me. The next section, I will pass it to my to our alumni. Okay, before I pass it to our alumni, I just want to describe a short background on their PhD. Okay, the reason why I invited Zahir is Zahir, it seems like missing Zahir there. Might be he's trying to get in. Zahir did his PhD fully face-to-face. He will share with us his experience. He will share with us his experience on face-to-face supervision, fully face-to-face. And Dhiauddin, when he did his PhD with UTM, he is working with different industry. So he's one feet with us and another hand with industry. So he's not fully with us. But so if you ask me, Dhiauddin is much more on distant learning. Okay. And then Arif is special because he experienced both. Where he tried distant learning, he started with face-to-face, and in the middle of the journey, he went back to Pakistan because he need to start working, and then he did it remotely. And after few semester, he came back face-to-face. So these are the three alumni that I bring today. Hopefully they can share something. So we'll help will help our student in terms of the perception. If you ask me which one is the best, it very much depends on your mindset. Okay, on your mindset and your attitude. So back to you, Johanna.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dayang, for the nice sharing. Okay, so Dr. Dayang, we should start with, I think Abdelzahir is trying to connect again.
Yeah, if we cannot get Zahir, might be we can start with Dhiauddin.
Yeah, sure. If Zahir cannot start, then Zahir is there.
Zahir, do you want to start or you want Dhiauddin to start?
Now I'm connecting.
Yes, Zahir.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam. You want to start now?
Yes, I can start now.
Okay. We pass the baton. Oh, okay. We give it to you then, so you may start now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you for Dr. Dayang. Thank you for organizer SERG group for this talk. Did Umrah for 2 days. Now I'm in Medina. And I make dua for all SERG group, especially who's in progress in PhD to complete their PhD, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. First, I start my PhD with another supervisor. Actually, in network, my first supervisor in network. Then I changed my supervision from network to software engineering. When I came first time to Malaysia, especially in UTM, I don't have any background about research. I think PhD I can do PhD, just copy from the textbook and do application. This is a PhD. This is background first about the PhD, really. Then I start study. First things I started at that time, research methodology course. I get the basic idea about the research. I discovered that they have scientific papers I have to read. I have to search for problem statement and everything. Then I start get background about the research. Even at the first time, I think that I can do the PhD remote. But when I discovered that I need a lot of time, because even I don't have any background about the research, I need to stay on Malaysia, and I have to decide to bring my family from Sudan to Malaysia. And this, at that time, this is difficult decisions for me, because working two jobs, IT manager, at the same time section manager for private college. I did resign from both my job and collect my money and I came at that time to Malaysia, and I bring my family. At the same time, I register for my wife for PhD. Both of us did, alhamdulillah, a PhD. My wife did a PhD with Prof Naomi, and that time I changed from supervision from first supervisor to software engineering, because I like software engineering at that time. When I came to Dr. Dayang, I told her I want to work in software engineering. She didn't let me immediately to be as a supervisor. He gave me assignment first. He told me you have to bring for me the challenge and issue that related to the software engineering. I'm working in cloud computing. At least you have to bring for me the challenge and an issue to software engineering in cloud computing domain. And alhamdulillah, I did that assignment about 3 days. I give her the result. Then she accepted me as a student, as a student. And I start with her under her supervision. She gave me immediately office and everything. And when I was first supervisor, two months I don't have office. When I changed to Dr. Dayang, at that time, immediately give me office and give me everything, my new PCs at that time. And I start, alhamdulillah, the journey of PhD face-to-face student. And I'm telling you the truth. Dr. Dayang, she's very kindly, very good in social, but she's very tough in work. at the same time. I mean, if she give you any work, if you don't do it, you cannot pass. And you have to do. If you have meeting, you have to meet her in the meeting. If you don't do anything, so you have to meet her in the meeting, because to schedule for your new meeting is difficult and will take time. So this is my recommendation for the new students or the students now with her. Don't miss the appointment with Dr. Dayang. Try to meet her every week. I know she will give you a corrections, but this is the only way you can graduate it on time. Alhamdulillah, after a long time, me and my wife study and stay in College Bardana for 4 years. Alhamdulillah, we did our PhD because we have in high stress. Me and my wife just PhD and school, and Alhamdulillah, we finished our PhD. And I work first year in Kuala Lumpur in private college. Then I shift to King Khalid University after that in 2017. This is a short story about my journey of PhD in UTM.
So what is your opinion on face-to-face for you? Face-to-face is the best for you, yeah?
Alhamdulillah. Face-to-face for me is good because especially I don't have background at that time about the research. And I get face-to-face, I got a lot of knowledge about research from my supervisors, my co-supervisor, Dr. Imran, and my colleague in the lab, and also the facilities available in UTM. I have many, there is some good libraries and good facilities for research, good environment for research in UTM. Alhamdulillah. Even if you want to come to the lab, you can stay on your home. There is a room near Bardana, for example. You can study there. And many places you can go to the library. Even the library have many options. This is actually facilities not available in other universities. Difficult to find this in other universities. I mean the environment and facilities in UTM. Good environment for face-to-face student to study.
Thank you very much, Zahir. That is face-to-face experience. Can we move to distant supervision experience? Dhiauddin? Thank you, Zahir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dayang. Assalamualaikum, very good day. Firstly, thank you to SERG and also to Dayang for not supposed to be volunteer. But Dr. Dayang asked me a favor, but then it's okay. I'll try my best to share what I've experienced doing research PhD works with UTM. Basically, just a brief, first and foremost, a brief background on myself regard to the PhD studies in UTM. Basically, I'm not a new alumni. Basically, I have been alumni of UTM since 2009 after I completed my master in RTSE. I did it in CASE. Then that time CASE still under FSKSM. I still remember the long name. And then actually my journey to PhD is actually unplanned because around 6 months after I attended the convocation, received a letter from FSKSM offer me to continue the PhD studies. But that time, as per my masters, I already opt for part-time doing master, so I continue to do kind of part-time mode lah, at distance. But that time, I choose to have a supervisor in KL because I work in KL. So that's why I was under supervision by Prof. Suhaimi until his retirement. And then after that, automatically the supervision changed to Dr. Dayang. Happened to be, it's not, Dr. Dayang is not new to me. I've met her in Langkawi during SoftTech 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I know him already, and also together with Dr. Adham as my co-SV. Okay, I managed to submitted my PhD thesis hardbound around 2 weeks before first MCO, and I received the Senate letter. I think mid of April 2020 during MCO at night. I still remember that time. That night I received the letter in my email. Okay, so coming back to the topic of discussion today, basically not so much different whatever that have been shared by Dr. Dayang. Basically, it's been covered. I happen to be read the same paper you shared just now. Basically it summarized what I've experienced throughout my journey. And to be frank, I think maybe I'm the only one or just a few that completed the PhD within the maximum time of I completed last year officially. So basically when talking about my experience, basically I can summarize in a few areas, but I will summarize in short. I could say first on time management. As Dayang said, in my case, actually it's not 2 feet, 3 feet actually. One is industry, one is in PhD, and also as a chief of the family, I need to be a father at the same time husband. So I need to manage that time at that time as well. Of course, along the way, sometimes your time on work is more. And also, of course, the family, and you tend to spend very less time with your PhD. But I believe I can turn that in along the way after I completed the studies. I think that challenge turned into opportunities or strength towards completing my study. Where actually, although I have a very short time during that to focus on the work, basically I managed to optimize the time that I have. Okay. Taking into account the time with the family, time with work, okay, that's number one. Number two is about what else? On the focus focus of your work. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's special to me or because I already familiar with that. You have your day-to-day work, okay. You have your PhD work. Maybe at some point of time you tend to lose balance. Okay, you tend to lose focus on your PhD work as you need to focus more, or you're too tied out with your day-to-day work. But along the way, I realized that that's actually helped me to really put a very dedicated focus towards completing the works related to PhD, whether it's about writing papers to the conference, journals, and 1 or 2 time meeting supervisor, or through online or through email or face to face, and then what else? To complete my thesis writing, because why? I think the way the environment that I work actually helps me indirectly towards optimizing that time. Because in my case, like I work in MIMOS, a kind of R&D, applied R&D kind of thing. So my KPI is to write papers. Okay, most of us before need to write papers as part of the KPI. So since I need to write the paper, it's actually polish my skills in writing, and I can use that for my paper writing for my PhD works, the thesis writing, and so forth. Okay, that's on the focus. Again, on the communication, just now Dayang said about write tools. Yes, you need to use whatever medium that you have. Emails, and then we have WhatsApp, maybe after this Signal, I don't know. Okay, different tools. And also maximize the time you have, maximize the opportunity you have in using the tools, because that maybe help you to complete your work accordingly. And another one is about environment. Of course, Dr. Dayang mentioned about not just about talking to your supervisor. You might need also to talk with other PhD candidates, PhD graduates. Maybe your friend already graduated with PhD, and even you can talk. Like my case in industry, you can talk to other industries, especially related to your research area. Then you can get more ideas that may add more to your add value to your thesis writing, papers writing, and so forth. What else? Maybe motivation. Okay, motivation. Okay. Frankly, in my situation, there were times, several times where you think up and down. You ask yourself, is it worth it for me to continue with a PhD? Okay. Because you know you are already working, but again, go back to your intention, your niat. Okay, innamal a'malu binniyat, go back to it. Why you did your PhD? Although it's unplanned, basically, you after you graduated, you realize that actually that's developed yourself. That how it turns yourself to be different from others. Whether later you want to continue with working industry or you want to change your career to academic, that's the other thing. But change is about teaching other things, like not just about paper writing. You teach yourself about attitude, mindset, like Dayang said just now, and many things. Okay, and I think last but not least, I like the point mentioned by the Dayang just now. It's about learning together. Basically, it's like a two-way things. While meeting your supervisor to update your progress, raise up some issues. Basically, from me or guys from industry, actually you are learning from the academia. You might need to learn, unlearn, relearn about new things that that's new to you, that maybe can be applied back to your daily work if you have an opportunity. At the same time, maybe supervisor can see from different angle on how the research currently happening in the university can actually contribute to industry. There might be a possibility where can come out with a new title for other upcoming grants or collaboration. So actually use that opportunity to look for other things like collaboration and new ideas together. And it's not just a nice thing. Last but not least, this happened to me towards the end. It's about technical issues lah. I have to share this. 1 year plus before the date of submission to the SPS, my files of PhD, I would say, tend to lost lah, basically. Tend to lost, where it's due to the sync issues between my machine with the cloud hosting. Okay, it's not a bad thing basically, because I happen to be not relying 100% on the cloud. I have a backup with other medium like my other PCs and external drive whatsoever. But of course, although it's not up to date, but still, my advice, do a lot of backup. Many platform lah. Don't just rely on one. If not, as happened to me, luckily, alhamdulillah, I managed to get the files back from other medium. Although it's not up to date, but still I can still work from there, and alhamdulillah completed my PhD. I think that's all that I can share, because of 9 years, so many things that you can share, but I managed to summarize in that manner lah, so that maybe can benefit some of you who have or come into picture where need to work and study at the same time. I think that's all from me, Dr. Dayang.
Thank you, Dhiauddin. I just want to ask you one question on transformation.
Yeah.
Even though you are in industry, you have the cutting edge of the knowledge as well. What is your opinion on the transformation of knowledge that you went through when you did your PhD? Okay.
Transformation, I would say, in terms of, like you say just now, on systematic way of doing things. Not just about research, of doing anything. Not just about writing papers, but also on organizing your works. Because that, more or less, essentially is the same. If you put into research, there's a systematic way to do it. But when having that knowledge, basically, it helps me to improve the way I deal with people, because I need to deal with external customers, external parties, on how you communicate your ideas. I think that's contribute more to my my day-to-day work. Because on technology wise, I think not so much different. From my own opinion, not so much different, because I already can learn so many platforms that you can learn today. So in terms of maybe what you can say is about that is about on improving your the way of dealing with things on day-to-day basis with your work.
Thank you, Dhiauddin.
Yeah.
So we move to Arif. Arif have something to share because he went through both face-to-face and distant learning. So I pass it to you, Arif. Are you still mute, Arif, or you already unmute your phone? It seems like you're still mute there. Okay, we can see your slide now.
Am I audible now, Prof?
Okay, we can see your slide and we can hear your voice. You may start now.
That is great. Thank you, Prof, for inviting me to this talk. And thanks to the SERG for reviving the memories that I had in UTM. And thanks to Dr. Joanna as well, whom I met in my interview with UTM, as I have been there as a staff for a few days. So thanks to all of you for being here. I would say face-to-face versus distant. I've been through both, and it's quite entertaining and challenging both at the same time. I started as a face-to-face student at UTM, and then I had to face a few challenges. And then I have to decide that whether I should move on with my PhD or go back to my country. So here you would see this yellow pencil. So this actually indicates to us, those who come up with the idea of higher educations, because they are already different from all of the others who are not thinking this way. So when you are this yellow, you start thinking to a solution that is different. Your eye is different from others. You look differently. So I decided, yeah, let's discuss with my supervisor, who's Dr. Dayang, and I was like quite in fear that whether she will allow me or not. So I discussed with her my problems, and thanks to Allah that she said yes, it's okay. She then counted a few problems that when you are going through the PhD, you usually confront these issues, and finance was one of them. So I had to go back to my country. I had to join. So I went back to country and then join again UTM, then back to country, then UTM. It was like this. So both the modes I found was they have different pros and cons. That's true. I don't say one is perfect or the other is not, because we usually say that face-to-face kind of things are good to have for learning and for doing any kind of activity or for understanding anything, because we are used to with face-to-face. But the problem is that we are reluctant to opt for new things that are coming to our life. So distance learning or distance supervision or being supervised is one of that sudden change. So for UTM, I would say all of us being staff or the students, they are quite fortunate that UTM is already on the verge. They already have that setup for distance learning. So it's kind of the current COVID situation is kind of an opportunity for everyone to enjoy this state. So I've been in distance learning. The distance learning, usually people they would like to avoid it. They would not like to go on with the distance learning. That's just because they are new to it. But let me share a reference with you, which may be quite against as for some of us that, oh, this is an old reference. But I purposely picked a very old reference that's quite like more than 2 decades old. The purpose is that it's not new that distance learning education is getting so much involved in the current scenario. There was a study, I've been going through it, and I found that there is a phenomena. It is called as the no significant difference phenomena. There are different situations covered in this article, but it can be applied to this face-to-face versus distance education or distance supervision, which says there should be no significant difference if you follow all the relevant parameters or the materials. As Prof in one of her slide discussed, that if you are online or face-to-face, some of her students did not even reply after even a month. But one of her student who was distant, and he used to reply within 24 hours. So it's this case, like there is this distance supervision. It is also a kind of a no significant different phenomena. It lies in there as well. Because if I'm face to face and I'm not motivated and I'm not disciplined and I'm not punctual and I'm not committed and I'm not of the view of independence of learning and I don't have any curiosity, I'm not enthusiastic, and I'm not a hardworking or diligent person, it is like going to affect me anyway. But if I'm distant and I'm doing all these things, I'm motivated and disciplined and punctual and committed, I'll definitely be better than those with face-to-face situation. So it's kind of, if you have this well-designed and well-disciplined rules for yourself through going through your PhD or master's, then it doesn't matter if you are F2F or face-to-face or you are in a distance mode, it will not definitely affect you. Yes, there are a few challenges that even Dr. Dayang and my other colleagues mentioned about that as well. That is of communication and other factors. But on the other side, if you are distant, there will be many things you'll be enjoying as well. We can have a separate 1 to 2 hours lecture on that as well, as a talk on that. But I would say that if we have a cake, so distance learning is kind of a cake, and face-to-face is a cherry on the top of that cake. So face-to-face, if it is there, it's very good. If you have distance learning plus face-to-face, it's very good to have. But if it is not face-to-face, it doesn't mean everything is finished for you. So it's just you take the cherry out of it. The cake is still there. So you can enjoy those things. And another example could be like vows in Malaysia, we call it kites. So if you want to let the kite fly high, so you need to do 2 things. And that our supervisor, Dr. Dayang, has to do with us as well. She would push you. She would like push you and then set you free. She will push you and then set you free. So if you do both the things, the kite will fly high. And if you do like just picking, the kite will not fly. And if you leave it, the kite is gone. So the same kind of a situation is with the distance and F2F as well. So if you are enjoying, for me, since I've been in both of the situations, so if you do both, you will fly high in my based on my mind, because when you are distant, so you are doing other things as well which are involved in your life. In most of the face-to-face situation, most of the situations, usually people are away from their family, they are away from their jobs, they are facing challenges, they have some tensions on their minds. So if there is an opportunity to have both, I would always prefer to have those both situations. But if it is distant, it's okay. But if it is face-to-face, it's much better in all situations. But as in my case, it was distant and face-to-face. I found it quite well. And I'd like to share with you that I finished my PhD almost 3 years and 8 days. Though I was distant in some time, I was face-to-face in other time, but I still happened to manage to finish it in 3 years and 8 days, mostly because of my supervisor. Yeah, that's a fact. Prof, though he's smiling, but that's a fact, because I, on my part, though have been keeping all these things in my pocket. Like I was motivated, I had to be disciplined. I had to be punctual, but to clap, you need to have two hands. So if I was there, my prof was always there. So being distant or F2F face to face, it did not affect me because I was clapping because both of me and my prof was present there. When I was distant, I had to face one issue, and I was worried that there may be some cases that my prof will forget me, or even I myself will forget myself. And in the same way, I would forget my topic, even that what I was doing PhD on. So for that, I used to text Dr. Dayang some salam, just salam. And then she would certainly reply, was salam. And then we would discuss anything, just anything. And sometimes I was just looking at my chats now. I would sometimes want to share it my further talks after taking permission from Dr. Dayang. That in that, I've even told her, Prof, it's been 2 months and I have done nothing. So even she then motivated me. Yeah. So even sharing your non-improvements will keep you touched with the supervisor, and then she can guide you and then do this and do that, and yeah, will be led towards a successful ending. So if I want to, there are many things that we can discuss, there are many stories that we can share, but to sum up what I just discussed, I would say that yes, face-to-face is better, but distance learning, it's distance supervision, it's not bad. So if there are 100 reasons to opt for face-to-face, there are 1,000 reasons to opt for distance learning. So we can take both at same space. Like currently, some of the students are facing the situation of COVID and they cannot join face-to-face. So for now, they can go on with the distance learning, and as soon as the COVID is gone, so they can join the face-to-face situation, because they definitely wants to know how the supervisor is and how the environment is and how Malaysia itself is. So there are many things to learn. So I would prefer both being there. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to let me discuss a few things. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Arif. I pass it back to you, Johanna.
Okay. Thank you to Dr. Dayang and also to all our alumni as our guest speaker. Okay. I think it's very nice, interesting sharing. Okay. Okay. Is there any questions from the floor? Any question from the floor? Okay, it's okay. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat room. Okay, later I will read it. Okay, for you, so that the guest speaker can answer it. Okay. But in the meantime,
I have a question. If
yes. Please ask the question.
thank you. Also, thanks for Dr. Dayang and everyone to share this useful information for us. So actually, I wanted to ask that what is the success ratio for on-time degree between distance learning and face-to-face education? So what is the success ratio actually between two? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Israr. If we look at my statistic of student, because what I shared just now, most of my students did it face to face. Okay. In terms of statistic ratio, I don't calculate them how much portion, but there are my distant learning student also managed to complete their research on time. Like Arif is one example who completed his thesis on time within 3 years. And then I have another one, Abid also did it within 3 years. And as I mentioned just now, there are how many of my students did it online. Seven of my PhD students did it online. So from these 7, if I would like to calculate, like 4 of them managed to complete on time from 7. Okay, but there are more numbers of students did it face to face, also did on time. Okay, and again, as I mentioned to you, it's very much depend on the attitude. It's not depend on your whether you did it on time, whether you did it in distant learning or face to face. It's very much depend on your mindset and depend on what you want to achieve. But if you ask me, is it not all students aim for graded on time, but we as a lecturer try to plan, because we know that especially postgraduate students, they'll have your own pace. You have your own style of doing things. You have your own objective. We respect you in terms of that. But we as a supervisor really trying our best to guide you so that you can complete it within the duration or graded on time. If you ask me how many percent, I can say the ratio is about the same. But it's quite biased because not that many students of mine did it distant as compared to face-to-face, because I have more students did it face-to-face as compared to distant. Okay, might be any other panel would like to add?
Yes, Doctor. Actually, usually we see, especially in my case from Pakistan, so many students are studying online, but they are not completing their degree on time because of distance learning. So that's why I asked this. Yeah.
So far, from my experience, all my students did it distant learning. All of them completed their study. Either they managed to complete it within graded on time or not, but all of them managed to complete it, complete their study. But there are incidents where face-to-face students also cannot complete their study as well. Yeah. So it's very subjective, as Arif said.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
Welcome, Israr.
Okay, we have a second question here from Hamiza for Dr. Dhiauddin. Dhiauddin, how do you keep motivated to finish? What made you fighting until the end? And how do you manage industrial work and writing thesis?
For your information, Dhiauddin, who asked question? Hamiza is also from industry.
Okay, so Hamiza from industry. Okay, I'm not sure which industry are you in. Okay, basically I would say more or less the ICT related. But in my case, what makes first thing first before talking about your 3 questions is not 1 question, 3 questions basically. Basically, when you decided not to have a full-time PhD work, you must make sure that your area of research for your PhD is more or less not so far away from your day-to-day works. Okay. Even you say you are in software engineering, sometimes maybe you're doing software requirement, but your PhD is in testing. So it might be a challenge as well, because you need to understand this area and also another area. So in my case, when I started my PhD, I was in testing related work. Just towards the end, I had already moved to kind of a requirement related work. So how do I keep motivated to finish? Basically, to answer number 1, number 2 question is at last is actually yourself and your family. Okay, beside your supervisor lah. Okay, because I have more or less, I technically have 3 supervisors lah, basically from Prof to Dayang and also to Dr. Adham. So basically, Dr. Dayang is like connecting the dots back. okay, dots back and helped me to complete the journey while together with Dr. Dayang, while Prof. Fahmi previously set up the very solid foundation on how I move forward until I can complete to what I managed to do it last year. So basically, it's about family and the environment that you as I said just now, get to know the right people, communicating the right people, attitude. You need to be there. It's your self perseverance, like, because your end game is to complete your PhD. Although deep in my heart, at initial phase, I want to GOT. I want to be part of GOT. But of course, it's still, life is out of control. You need to go with the flow. At the end of the day, I say to myself, as long as I finish, that's it. It's okay. But finish it with the good work lah, not just for the sake of finishing your work. Okay. In terms of management of your industrial and writing thesis, I think it's related to my first answer just now. If you have your PhD work and your day-to-day work is actually more or less within the same area, it helps you to deal with it quite well lah. Okay. Plus supervision by advisor on the academic part, because sometimes you tend to follow the way industries work and apply it to academic, but some it's not really applicable because some you think what industry do is the right way, but not all the time. You need to go back to the academic way of doing things so that you can balance it up. I think that's I would say my quick answer on that.
Oh, Doctor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dhiauddin. Okay, the second question is I think for Dr. Arif and Dr. Zahir. So maybe Dr. Zahir want to answer first. The question is from Huda. So the question is, what are the mistakes that you recommend us not to commit during research, especially regarding publishing Q1 papers? What do you say, Dr. Zahir? Dr. Zahir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. She talk about mistake about during publication as I listen.
Might be, Zahir, might be you can share your experience on the paper that we wrote with Prof. Ketchingham. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, that was a good cited paper, Q1 paper.
Actually, when I started writing paper, I faced many problems. I have as I told you before, I don't have background about how to write the paper, but alhamdulillah, because I found many help from my supervisor, my co-supervisor, and my friends, and I wrote my first paper as a conference papers. Before that, many papers rejected because the paper I wrote it at that time maybe not fulfill the requirement of writing, and then after many trying, I succeed to publish my first papers in conference, I think in Batu Pahat, Springer, organized by Springer, as a book chapter. Then alhamdulillah, this is my first paper, give me the trust that I can publish. And alhamdulillah, I wrote systematic mapping papers after many correction supervisor, Dr. Dayang, and also shared the systematic map with Prof. And I got many correction, and I sent the paper for many journals. Sometimes they may find not suitable for their scope, and alhamdulillah, after many trying, I publish good systematic mapping. Alhamdulillah, now have had high citation.
Okay, Thank you, Dr. Zahir. Okay, how about you, Dr. Arif? Because Dr. Go said that you are the best student during the convocation, right? Do you still remember Dr. Go? She sit beside me during the interview. Dr. Arif, we can't hear you.
Let me just actually unmute. Yeah, I remember Dr. Go. I thought she's also one of the faculty member now.
Yeah.
That's great. So actually, I would say there are many things. Let me, if I can share my CV here. So when I was studying there, I was confronting so many issues and I did so many mistakes. Like when I was studying, my publication was one or two. And now my publications, the Q1 publications, they are almost 30 plus. So I would like to share with you, and soon many of them will be online. And there are still some mistakes that I'm committing. That out of the 13 publications from my thesis, they are ready, but I'm not sending it. So there are problems that we are committing. There are mistakes. So the major mistake that we commit, we don't believe in ourselves. Like people think that we cannot write paper at the stage of PhD or being student. Yes, you can write papers. If you can write your name in English, you can write papers as well. So all you need to do is to understand the problem first that you're working on. So if you know your problem, you can write a lot of papers. You can just write paper on your problems even. There are few misconceptions that when I write paper, I think that it cannot be accepted in Q1. So if it is just about publishing in Q1, don't need to be like sad that you cannot send it to Q1. There are many venues where you can send your papers and they can be accepted. I would suggest to send it to Q1 paper, though maybe Dr. Dayang would slap me for this, that don't tell this to students. But I would say send it to Q1 paper. What they will do, they will give you very good comments. Or at the beginning, they would say, okay, get out. They can say this. I was just going through the messages I've been communicating with my Dr. Dayang. My first paper was with the neural computing application. I sent it to them. They sent me back after 3 months and it was rejected. The paper was rejected and I was dejected. And I sent message to Dr. Dayang, Prof, it's full of sorrow and my paper is rejected. Then she said, it's okay, it's your first paper. Like, it can be rejected, but the comments that I had from that journal, it was amazing. So you send it to Q1 paper, Q1 journal, you will have very good comments and you be ready to send it to Q1. Like what I have observed, I'm the editor of many Q1 journals, and I'm also the editor of some Q4 journals, and I'm also the editor of some what do you call it, non-index but ISI journals. What happens to me when someone sends paper to me, maybe it's my mistake, I evaluate the paper based on my mindset. Like if someone sends paper to me to the Q1 journal, I will evaluate the same scientific contribution, the same structure of the paper, the same abstract, the same everything. Now, if the same paper I review for a Scopus paper, Scopus journal, I would do the same things. So there are people like me in the editorial boards or in the reviewers committees that will evaluate your paper with the same template that they have in their mind. That is it scientifically enough to publish? Is it structurally okay? Is it enough for being published in this journal? So there are people there. So try your best to publish in Q1 journal. Yes, there can be much detailed discussion on how can we actually publish in Q1 journals. That may be a separate discussion. But the mistakes that I had done at my time I still see some of my papers that I sent to some venues which could easily be accepted in a Q1 journal. But I get it published in a non-index journal. So that was one of the mistakes. The other mistake was not to write. Like things in my mind, I don't write. So whatever in your mind, just write, give it a rough, very rough, and then let it organized. Go to your supervisor and she would say, okay, remove this thing, though you would not want to remove your content because it comes from your mind. But your supervisor would say, okay, not this one, bring this one to this one. She will or he will let it be structured for you. But you just write. If you are able to write, you can easily make it publishable to any such venue for a Q1. And if I start counting my mistakes, so actually PhD is about committing mistakes. So if you don't commit mistake, you don't learn. So we can even write a book, the mistakes you commit during your PhD, on writing papers, on writing thesis. So we can even organize a special session that how to publish in a Q1 journal. So I guess there's already much from my side. I think I should stop for now. Maybe we can have another session for that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Arif. So I guess it's 4 o'clock already. All right. So thank you for the nice sharing from the Dr. Dayang and also all our guest speaker, our UTM alumni. All right. So I think we should start with the second session, which is the research progress sessions from Israr Ghani. Okay. But he cannot make a live presentation today due to his network limitations. Okay, so Lukman. Okay, Lukman. Alright, so Lukman has a presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone and respected Prof. So my research topic is an efficient test case selection and chain detection approach in regression testing under supervision of Prof. Nasir and Dr. Dila. So the table of contents of the presentation is to the introduction of the testing and the software development environment, also the regression testing overview, the test case selection and chain detection framework in the regression testing, the experimental results so far we have produced, and the limitation and the concluding remarks in terms of future perspective. So if we discuss the introduction to object-oriented and service-oriented based softwares, so we see from 1960 to 1970, the main focus of the software development was internal organization. So onward, 1980 to 2000, it introduced the structure and object-oriented based environment, and from 2010 to onward, so it's present the distributed functions, universal interoperability, and real-time connectivity based environment in the software development. So actually it's present the W-based model in regression testing according to our understanding, because the requirement specification, architecture, detailed design has been introduced in the development environment, and same testing environment has been produced and introduced in terms of requirement specification, architecture, detailed design, from the development to the production system, in the build system and build software. So according to that, acceptance testing, system testing, unit and integration testing has been introduced to meet the requirement. So as soon as the requirement specification, architecture based and design based changes has been introduced in the development phase, the testing techniques has also been improved according to the requirement. So need for efficient regression testing, actually due to the maintenance of software, regression testing has become harder and more difficult for object-oriented and service-oriented based application. So these testing challenges have introduced new testing approaches for both object-oriented and service-oriented based application. Regression testing actually aim to reduce the number of test cases in software
So to be retested by only running test cases that are affected by code changes. So actually regression testing, the main focus of the regression testing is to test the modified area of the software which affected by modified code. So the software testing usually consume over 50% of the cost associated with the development, and 80% of the overall testing is used for regression testing only. So mainly the regression testing focused on the test case selection, test case minimization, and test case prioritization, but our main focus is the test case selection. The main reason to select the test case selection will be discussed in the upcoming slide. So the regression testing, actually, if we discuss the features of the regression testing, the more business depends on the object-oriented and service-oriented based application. So to make sure the quality of the testing, the regression testing is considered as an important and the fastest growing technical activity in the software field. So if we focus on the service-oriented based testing only, so the web service or microservice testing is the process of testing to make sure the application communicates and access the functionality correctly in terms of time and efficiency. So, and additionally, it is needed to make sure by effectively verifying the behavior of web service connecting with the appropriate request and response to make sure that application, the interfaces are communicating according to the request. So where the object-oriented based application, the quality of testing and testing approach used for time and efficiency also of object-oriented based environment. So our main focus is to provide an efficient test case selection approach in regression testing for both object-oriented and service-oriented based application. So our quality of service parameter currently we are focusing on the time and efficiency because existing approaches mainly focus has been to improve the efficiency of the test case selection and decrease the time of the test case selection technique from the test suite. So the main reason to select the test case selection from the regression testing instead of test case prioritization, actually test case selection can reduce the number of test cases and satisfy the testing requirement to reduce the testing cost, and also can achieve the effective test cases selection in terms of minimum time to increase the efficiency, and also existing models and algorithm frameworks have ability to reduce the test suite size. On the other hand, the test case prioritization, there is a human factor to prioritize a test case. For example, if we have an application to test and where we are going to test for the performance testing, security testing, interoperability testing. So first we have to prioritize. So there is no common tool or common standard available in existing environment to prioritize the test case. So also in the test case prioritization, the reusability issue of the test suite because we cannot reusable, we cannot use the reusable issues of the test suite in test case prioritization. Also, prioritization does not account for code modification in the system under test. It only focuses on the increase the fault detection ability, and ignoring the previous version of the test suite. So that's why we have focused on the test case selection. So in terms of test case selection, we also see the problem that the test case selection and detection of newly added changes has become the core issue in regression testing. And also the modification of existing functionalities increase test suite size, time, and reduce efficiency in existing approaches. So we also seen in the existing approaches the number of manual checks has been performed for regression testing in the latest algorithm, which increased time and increase the efficiency and increase the time and reduce the efficiency. So that's why it has motivate us to go ahead and improve the existing algorithm to make better and more efficient for the test case selection approach. So the test case selection and change detection framework in regression testing, actually several testing approaches framework to evaluate the quality of service attribute, which we have discussed in previous slide regarding time and efficiency. So this can be also deliberated in a multi-dimension regression-based testing approaches. However, these major testing approaches framework have been characterized as follows: the modified test case selection from test suite and change detection of newly added change in the test suite. So in terms of the test case selection existing research problems, so we come to know that how to improve the efficiency of the regression testing approach in terms of time, performance, and precision for an efficient test case selection and change detection for modification test cases. So the research question which we have mentioned in our study, that what are the important criteria related to regression testing efficiency, and what are the gaps and challenges in the existing approaches related to the test case selection and change detection. So the research question 2, we have mentioned that how to enhance the test case selection algorithm in order to improve the time, performance, and effectiveness of regression testing, and also how to further improve the quality of the related test suite by improving change detection in order to improve the quality of modification test cases and removing irrelevant test cases. So in terms of research questions, so our objective will be to propose an effective regression test case selection algorithm in terms of time, performance, and test suite precision, and also to improve the quality of the selected test cases by improving the change detection algorithm in terms of time, performance, and test case efficiency. To evaluate the proposed test case selection and change detection algorithm using the industrial strength case studies. So this is our proposed framework. We have divided into 2 parts where we are actually extracting the modified test cases only. And in second phase, we are actually detecting the modified change from modified test cases. We also implemented the mapping rules from the test case selection area, and also implementing the filter to detect the modified values from the modified test cases. So this is our proposed framework. So according to, we have divided into 2 phases: first, test case selection, and second, change detection. So we claim that by dividing the test case selection and change detection in 2 phases, we will improve the efficiency and reduce the time, because the existing approaches implementing test case selection and change detection in same test suite, and that's why they are still unable to improve the efficiency of the existing approach. And also they did not perform the experimental result on large scale. Also, we have seen that existing approaches perform only 10 to 15, 20 test cases to perform test case selection and change detection from the existing test suite. So we have actually prolonged it, and we have increased the test suite size to 100 plus in our first phase, and second phase we will increase our test suite to 300 test cases to get better result. So these are some modified test cases we are talking about. That for example, we have a test case where the data type has been changed from earlier it was voucher 15, and the test and the change, the requirement has been changed, and now it's the column has been changed into n voucher, and also the length has also been increased to 25. So first we need to select the modified test case, and secondly we need to detect the change in the code. So that's what we are going to perform the test case selection area. So testing stage, which we discussed earlier in the testing framework, first if we have a application, service-oriented or object-oriented based application, so we claim that our algorithm will work equally for the object-oriented and service-oriented based application, because we have defined some standard and common parameters to select the test case selection, and we are extracting the test suite after implementing the mapping rules for API interface and query builders from the application. And we are extracting the test suite Y, where we are implementing the change detection in the second phase after implementing some further filters to extract the test suite Y, test suite Z from test suite Y. So actually we want to separate the test suite. First, we are selecting the test suite for the selection of modified test cases, and secondly, we are producing another test suite where we are detecting the modified change in the modified test cases. So that's what we claim, that using this algorithm, using this approach, we will improve the efficiency of the test case selection, and it will definitely reduce the time and improve the efficiency. So here is some pseudocode of the existing algorithm for test case selection and change detection, which need some further improvements. Actually, here so many checks implemented in the code behind. So this is the only pseudocode to introduce for the test case selection. It need more improvement when we will be increasing our test cases in the test suite. So we will check the behavior of the existing algorithm, how it responds. Also, this is the calculation algorithm, which will monitor the time and efficiency as compared to existing approaches, how much we improved with our approach as compared to existing approaches. So this algorithm will monitor the time and efficiency for the newly introduced approach. So this is the test case selection result, because we have separated the test case selection separately and change detection from the modified test case, the modified test suite separately. So if we see the test case selection ratio, actually the existing approaches introduce their result in small scale. They only tested 10 to 15 test cases from test suite, and we increased the test suite size from to 150 for test case selection. Where we can see the modified test cases was 60, and also the test case selection cases in our rhythm, it selected the 45 test cases, and on the other hand, the existing approach, it detected 35 test cases, because they are implementing the test case selection and change detection algorithm on same test suite. So we have separated it from test case selection first, and from second test suite, we have implemented the change detection algorithm. So that's why our results are better so far using existing algorithm. So it's take less time as compared to existing approach. So also change detection result. If we see the change detection result as compared to existing approach for CHDA approach, which are going live for the change detection. So two different approaches has been implemented for test case selection and change detection. So here we increase the test suite size to 160, and it will increase to 300 test cases in our further upcoming experiments. So where we can see that the modified test cases were 45 we have selected, we have detected, and the existing approach CHDA actually detect the 10 test cases, because they actually implemented their approach on same test suite. But we have implemented our test approach on different test suites. So But if we see the time, and their approach taking less time because they perform the experiments on small scale, and we have actually increased the size of test suits, so that's why it's taking too much time in our case. So we have to review our existing algorithm to get the desired result. So if we talk about the limitation of the research, so far we are actually focusing on the performance. So if we go ahead and perform the same test case selection in interoperability, complexity, traceability, compatibility, availability, security, and so on. So this research can be prolonged according to these parameters. So our focus is on to improve the performance in terms of time and efficiency. So actually, the study aims to provide a comparative evaluation of the recent approaches in regression testing. Also, it needs more concentration to present progressive product successful and testing way to deal with the get expected outcomes. Also, there is a need for further research in this field of regression testing. So, by improving the regression testing approaches framework to address the limitation, which we have discussed in the previous slide. So, that's our research. So, I have some publications regarding to my work. So far, I have done the literature review for microservice testing, web service testing, also introduced a comparative evaluation of state-of-the-art approaches in web service testing. And also we have got acknowledgement of the regression testing based approaches and also provide the comparative evaluation of the existing approaches. So finally, we have introduced our test case selection framework, test case selection and change detection framework for the regression testing. And here we get acknowledgement of our initial framework and of our objectives. So here is so far of our progress. So hopefully the other paper of with our initial result is ready to submit in Q journal. So we are hoping we will submit in next week, inshallah, to submit our paper in Q journal with initial result. So for the best. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Luqman. Okay, now, due to the time constraint, as I mentioned earlier, we can have around 1 or 2 questions for the Israr. Israr, are you ready? Israr? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, so here we have the first questions for you is, in case of test execution, do you consider also sporadic issues during the test execution from Mujtaba?
Sure. Sorry, doctor, can you repeat again?
Okay, you can look at the questions in the chat room. Can you see it? In case of test execution, do you consider also sporadic issues during the test execution?
Actually, doctor, thank you for raising this question. Our topic is test selection. We are actually not going to execute the test cases according to the expected result. That if we have a test case and we are expecting it should return us the expected result according to the behavior of the application. So right now we didn't do it. Actually, right now our focus is just to select the modified test case in regression testing. It's not about the execution right now. in the future, in near future, we will go for the execution, that how our test cases behave against the action which performed by the user, by the tester. So, for example, if someone have changed the password, and we have created a test case that the password has been changed, so we are not actually executing this test case to verify either the password is correct or not right now on this stage. In future, definitely we have to do. But right now, we are actually selecting the modified test case that, yes, this test case is modified and the password has been changed. So right now, our focus is selection of modified test cases, not execution.
Okay. Actually, I have one question for you, Israr. In your slide just now, you mentioned that you did modifications. You have test suite Y and you have test suite Z, right? Just now
Yes.
in your slide. Okay. So you said that you do modifications on the test suite Y and also same goes to the test suite Z. So is it the modification is for the same test suite, or the modifications you did it for different test suites?
Yes, doctor. Actually, right now we have three test suite: test suite X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Initially, we are producing test case X, where we have all test cases, where from we need to select the modified test cases only. From test suite Y, we are actually detecting what change has been made in specific test case. For example, if we have a test case and it contains two kind of changes. First, it changed the password, and second, it changed the length of the password. So we have now two changes to detect from modified test case. So finally, we are producing test suite Z from Y. Actually, we are the difference between test suite X and Y is we are actually implementing some extra filters on test suite Y to produce test suite Z.
Okay. There's one more question from Mustaba. Without considering test priorities, how we can generate the test cases? Do you consider the regression testing behavior also?
Yeah, our focus is test case selection. Actually, I have mentioned the pros and cons of the test case prioritization. The main thing in test case prioritization is a human factor. For example, if you have an application and you want to test its performance, and other tester have different application or same application and he want to check its security. So there is no common or standard algorithm or model or tool available for test case prioritization to prioritize a test case, that which test case should be first to test and execute. So that's why, and other factor also included that motivate us to go to the test case selection area. But the main focus is the human factor, because we have same application, same environment, but in performance area, I want to prioritize to check the time of the loading of the page. But the other person is sitting with me and he is also going to perform testing for same environment, and he prioritize a test case that no, he will not check the performance of the page load, he will check the security first. So there is a conflict. So that's why due to this factor and also some other factors, which motivate us to go for the test case selection. So right now we are not going to perform test case prioritization.
Okay. Thank you, Israr. Okay, Mustafa is okay. If you have any further question, you can message or email Israr. Okay. Okay. So,
Doctor, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to feedback from our guests for my presentation, which is not mature yet. I know it will take some time. So I just want to get some feedback from Dr. Dayang, Dr. Arif.
okay, but actually we the time is very constrained now. It's 4:30 already. Okay, maybe we can have another 5 minutes. Okay. Is there any comment or recommendations for Israel, Dr. Dhiauddin, and I think Dr. Arif got meeting.
Dr. Johanna, can I just, it's not a question, it's just a comment, so that Isra do not have to answer my question. You just need to think about it. Isra, in your title, you discuss about approaches. You're talking about approach. So it's okay to use term approach, but when looking at the exam, your objective, you very much focus with the first objective is about algorithm, and the second objective is about algorithm. First, I cannot see the connection of the first algorithm that you discuss and the second algorithm that you're going to achieve. This is one thing. The second thing is, what do you have actually in your approach? How does the approach look like to justify that is an approach? It consists of what? It consists of algorithm and what? I can't really see it from your presentation. You can just can discuss further. If you can email me or you can message me if you want to have a discussion with me. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you, Dr. Jana.
So much, Doctor. Actually, it will be difficult for me, Doctor, to explain it on email or message. I would like to visit you in good days after COVID and to explain you in a better way, because right now my presentation is not mature yet, and to explain it in detail as per you. So actually, I would like to visit you, get your better feedback and for good explanations.
Okay, no problem. Just can.
Thank you so much. Also, I will share some of my stuff to get your good feedback.
Okay, inshallah, Israr. Okay.